don't even care. I want you to listen to what I say. I love you, but it's so confusing. I'm winning at the same time losing. I love you, but it's so confusing. I'm winning at the same time losing.
Yo, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another artifact build video. Today we're looking at one of the new weapons from the Invaders of Oakveil update, which is the Twinblades. And the Twinblades artifact we're looking at today is the Fate Dancers. The Fate Dancers are definitely my favorite new artifact from the 3 new weapons they've brought out in the new update. It has a similar theme to a previous artifact that we've actually covered, the Hand of Winter, and the playstyle is relatively similar also. I think the biggest difference between the Hand of Winter and the Fate Dancers is really the versatility and flexibility that this weapon brings you. The fact that it combos really well with some weapons, which I'll go into a bit later, and just the high DPS you can get from this weapon makes it my favorite weapon of the 3 new artifacts that have come out with the Invaders of Oakveil, and I think so far it's one of the highest skill cap weapons in the game. Alright, looking at our spells we're going to be using. So as you can see, we're going to abuse the Frost magic tree with the addition of our Veil of Frost. We're going to be using Cold Snap, and our final spell will actually be the new Frost magic spell, which is the Arctic Storm. Now, because of how this weapon works and how it interacts with chilled or frozen enemies, we only want to be using Frost magic spells. This is with the exception of our ult, which we're going to be using Merciless Charge. Unfortunately, with the Frost magic tree, the only 2 available Frost magic ults is the Arctic Leap, which used to be really good back in the day, but the lack of damage that it gives and provides, and also the really slow animation, makes it really hard to hit in most cases. And also the ice block you can use for this build, but I personally think Merciless Charge, in addition to the weapons we're going to be running, allows us to do consistent damage with all of our Frost magic spells, but also burst damage with the Reaper Spear combo after you've stunned them with the Merciless Charge. Onto our passive abilities and Duels. We're going to be taking both Frost passives for obvious reasons: Cold Soul, Chill Weave, Great Stuff. And then with the remaining 3 passive points, we're going to be looking at a combination of Turbulent Velocity, Overpower, and Lethal Strikes. And then for the dual spell mods, I'll go through each of these and hover over them and just point out a couple of the most important ones. Now, the first one of Veil of Frost, the next primary attack consuming chill, that's very important. The next primary attack conjuring a Nova of Frost and inflicting chill, that's super important for the Veil of Frost there. Now for Cold Snap, the 4th option here, when triggered, charges target's weapon with Arctic Energy, next primary attack inflicting chill, we're needing that. That's the most important one. For the Arctic Storm, you want to have increased movement speed when channeling this because you're super slow. So other than that, you're wanting your freeze duration increased, of course. And the shield is not so important, but it does help. Having a look at our armor and amulet, we're going to be using the Dracula's Dread set this time. This is for the weapon cooldown rate, mainly. The amount of weapon combos you can get with this weapon and utilizing other ones that we'll go through soon, like the Spear, the Great Sword, the Reaper. It's really good to have an increased uptime. It allows you to charge your weapon cooldowns so that you get a refresh on your next weapon ability, which is obviously a new addition to the game, and just in general giving you more options for the flexibility using this weapon with what you want to do. If you want to be defensive, you want to be aggressive, the weapon cooldown reduction is going to help a lot with that. For the amulet, we're going to be using the Crimson Commander. With all the weapon cooldown reduction we'll be getting, the weapon skill power makes it that much more impactful, and the 10% chance to gain the Lesser Blood Rage is actually quite good. The attack speed of the Twinblades is already quite fast, but whenever this procs, it feels like you're attacking a million miles an hour. Now, the ideal blood type for this, I think, is going to be the Warrior, Primary Blood, and Rogue Secondary Mixed Blood. This provides the weapon cooldown rate that we spoke about earlier, and also some crit chance and crit strike power with the secondary Rogue Blood. For our weapon coding, pretty obvious one. Frost coding, you're going to be inflicting chill. There's no other coding that's going to be as advantageous to use as the Frost coding with the Fate Dancers. And for our buff, we're going to be using the Elixir of the Crow. This is mainly for the weapon cooldown rate. Alright, so looking at the weapons we're going to be using with the Fate Dancer. Honestly, the Fate Dancers in itself, just as a sole weapon artifact, are extremely good already. But being able to combo with other weapons that I'll get into in a moment, showing some weapon combos, really elevates this weapon to another level. And shows just how high of a skill cap this weapons can reach. So just quickly going over what the weapon actually does. The Q, you throw your little twin blade there. If you leave it, you see that it'll bring them in. So it's going to scoop them up like a little boomerang. It's going to bring them in, and you can start attacking, right? If I use the Q again, but recast it, I'll go to him. So just that in itself, there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of versatility in what you want to do, what you can do. Looking at the E is really interesting. The E is a CC displacement, kind of like a pike Q if you play League of Legends at all. But this ability here is going to be the main catalyst for what we end up comboing with. The first combo I want to get into is the Twinblade E into Spear Q. The next combo I want to look at is the Greatsword Q into Twinblade E. And the next combo I want to look at is using the Reaper Q into the Twinblade E. Another weapon swap combo I want to look at with the Reaper is the Fate Dancer's E into Reaper Q. And this is actually considered a true combo, meaning that they can't dodge out of it. So you Fate Dancer E into Reaper Q. Another good weapon to chuck in there if you want, if having 5 weapons or more is viable for you, is to chuck in a pistol primary attack at the end there. So you would go the Twinblades E, Reaper Q, pistol primary attack. And one tip I want to mention with using the Arctic Storm is you don't have to be holding it the whole duration. You can actually cancel it and then follow it up with the Twinblade E. Because with the Twinblade E, obviously you're doing more damage to shield targets. You can just quick Arctic Storm into Twinblades E. Final combo I want to touch on doesn't actually involve the Twinblades, but just quickly, it's the Merciless Charge into the Reaper E into the Spear Q for big burst damage. This is why I think utilizing these 4 weapons is really good. You get a burst damage combo in the ult into Reaper E into Spear Q, but also the versatility of the Twinblades movement using the other combos we went through just earlier. And the combo looks like this. It's also worth noting that if you can get a hold of each of these weapons with the Frost Infused ability modification here, that's going to work quite well with the Fate Dancer's Sweeping Strike. Alright, so just in summary, make sure with this build you're focusing around your weapon swaps, your combos, looking at your cooldowns with your weapons, and making sure you're utilizing that refresh on the free weapon skill, whether that's your Q, whether that's your E, how that connects to a different weapon swap. Always try to have uptime on your chill debuffs, on your freeze debuffs on the enemies, utilizing all your different weapons, utilizing your dash primary attack, utilizing your cold snap counter, and your Arctic Storm to provide massive damage centered around the Twinblades Frost magic. I had a lot of fun using this build and this weapon. This weapon is my favorite for sure out of the 3 new artifacts that have come out with the Invaders of Oakveil. If you guys enjoy these kind of build videos, be sure to give us a like, give us a comment, and enjoy some PvP clips I've got on V Arena using this build. Cheers.